you agree with the following statement? There are more terrorist organizations with men, equipment, and safe havens, along with desire to attack the American homeland anytime since 9/11.
I agree.
FBI Director James Comey during a Senate hearing in December of 2015 agreeing that the U.S. faces the greatest threat from terrorist groups we've seen since 9/11. Now, that may have been a while back, but Americans still fear that an attack here at home is imminent. Joining us now via Skype from New Jersey, former New York Police Commissioner Bernie Kerik. He was serving as commissioner back on that fateful day of 9/11, and Bernie also served as the Iraq interim minister of the Interior when the United States first entered Iraq. So, Bernie, you heard Director Comey say the threat is the highest it's been since 9/11. Do you concur?
I do, and I think that threat continues to increase basically on a daily basis. As long as we're not fighting the threat the way it should be fought in the Middle East, I think the radical Islamic groups are expanding. I think that they're communicating better than they ever have before. I think their social media networks are giving them the ability to communicate in a way that we have to come up to speed with. And I think if we don't knock them out of the box on the international front, we're going to see a lot more of them here in this country.
And Bernie, as you were speaking, we were looking at footage from that infamous attack in San Bernardino. And in the wake of that, earlier this spring, we had the Homeland Security Committee Chairman Mike McCaul saying, quote, "The United States and our allies face an increasingly lethal Islamist terror threat," close quote. Now, this administration refuses to pair the terms Islamic and terror together. Are they willfully playing the part of an ostrich, sticking their head in the sand?
Well, you know what, JD? I think it's ironic that the King of Jordan, who is really one of our closest allies in the Middle East, in the Arab region, the Gulf states, he himself has called these groups the outlaws of Islam. He himself has said that they are a bigger threat today than they've ever been before, and that it's extremely important that we fight this war against them globally. And he's talking about his partners in the Arab region, the Gulf states, as well as countries, states in the West. So if the King of Jordan, who knows this enemy better than anyone, if he himself can say they are the outlaws of Islam and they are radical Islamic extremists, I don't think anybody else should have a problem with it.
Well, we hear it from King Abdullah in Jordan. But does this administration listen? How would you rate the help we are giving to Jordan? And are we being effective in giving them help to fight these terror groups there in Jordan?
You know what, JD? I don't know all the specifics of the support that we're giving out to the countries in that region today, but I can tell you the king himself has said that they need more support. The president of Egypt, El-Sisi, who is another great ally for us, somebody that's fighting this enemy within his own country, has internationally declared them outlaws and said that he will go after them anywhere. These guys are major allies for us. They should be supported in every way possible. I just don't think we're doing what we should be doing, and that hurts us. It really hurts us in the long run.
We just saw footage of President Obama on a visit to Saudi Arabia. Your take quickly on the Saudis. Are they a sound ally, or do you still have suspicions about Saudi involvement on that fateful 9/11 day?
Well, I think the 28 pages that lingers now out of the 9/11 Commission report, I think that's going to clarify exactly what the extent of Saudi's involvement was. You know, I know the report, the 9/11 Commission report has said there's it's written in there somewhere that there was no senior level Saudi involvement. But that doesn't mean they didn't have people in the embassies. That doesn't mean they didn't have people here in the United States that were facilitating some of these guys who couldn't speak English, who had really a low level of education. How did they get around? How did they do what they did? I think the Saudis should come clean. I think the 28 pages should be released. And I think if the Saudis were really involved, the Saudi government, to whatever extent, they should be held accountable.
Let me bring it back home to someone's backyard or to someone's dinner table. Bernie, with your background in law enforcement, what is your advice to John Q. Public on any street in any town USA about what he may encounter in the days ahead? Got about a minute.
Don't take life for granted that we knew 20 years ago. We live in a very different world. The threats of 9/11 have increased, and we don't need 4 planes flying into buildings. We could have active shooter scenarios in grammar schools, in tourist location, in transportation hubs. These are the things we have to watch out for, and if you see something, you have to notify your local authorities, your state, federal authorities. If you have a gut instinct, you need to report it. Don't let it sit. Don't wait. Don't let it linger, because something could happen, and you'll be sorry you did.
And I might add, don't be paralyzed by the politically correct and the notion that somehow we should minimize what, as you mentioned, on a gut level we perceive as a threat. It is a very different world. Bernie Kerik, we thank you for your input.
Thanks, JD.
And Newsmax Prime will continue right after this.